Welcome to Between Over and Next with your hosts, Holli and Robert, a happily married couple who explore the space between what was, what is, and what's to come. From career changes to navigating life's uncertainties, this dynamic duo will empower you to live your happiest life at every age and stage. So, get ready because your journey with Holli and Robert starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Between Over and Next. Hi, Holli.
Hi, Robert. Something I am really proud of ever since we started working together 30 plus years ago is that we have always combined business with pleasure.
Well, since I know you, right? So 33, going on 34 years?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. You met me when I was in the event business, and it would always strike me as comical when I would be out on a wedding and the client would inevitably come up to me and say, "Are you having a good time?" And at first it would be like, "Yeah, I'm having a good time." And then I would think, "But I'm working." And people would kind of disassociate the fact that that was my job. I was there working. Like, you don't walk up to someone who's sitting at a desk in an office and say, "Are you having a good time?" But when you're out at a party, you're out at an event, and everyone around you is having a good time because they're there, they think that also it's like, "Oh, are you having a good time?" But you're working. So working in the, let's call it the pleasure business, right, where people are having a good time and fun, happy, it's kind of a weird perception of you're working around people who are having fun, and they don't realize that's your job. You're not there for pleasure. You're there because that's your job. And if you weren't working, you wouldn't be there. So for me, it's always, that line has always been blurred.
But I think most people think they need to choose business or pleasure. And I think that that's a thought-provoking question that many entrepreneurs and business owners grapple with.
Well, work brings up one picture in somebody's head, and it's not in the same column as pleasure. Generally speaking, I got to go to work. You don't say that in the same way as I got to go to the beach, unless you work at the beach. It's all perception as to what is business and what is pleasure, but to be able to combine the two, to be able to work doing something that brings you pleasure, to me, is the ultimate combination. That's something that I would think everybody is striving for.
So today's episode is about really succeeding in what you do, but most importantly, enjoying what you do. Very often, people go to school and decide what they want to be when they grow up. But I do believe along the way that something may have been the absolute right something, or perhaps they choose to do something else. I think everybody should give themselves permission to tap into what they love.
Well, have you ever had a job that you hated? I know that you don't like that word.
I hate that.
Have you ever had? Let me rephrase that.
Let's tell everybody. I hate the word hate. Okay? So I can use those two words in the same sentence.
Isn't that what they would call an oxymoron?
They cancel each other out. I hate that word.
So did you ever have a job that you really disliked?
Actually, I don't think so. I always was a hard worker, and I always looked for the lessons that I was learning along the way. So there were challenges. I was in the world of fashion, which I loved. I was in publishing, which I loved. And then I've been in marketing with you and event production and now podcast production. And it really is about connection and people and producing something that is meaningful. And I love everything that I've done to get me to this moment in time. And I have always surrounded myself with people that really care about what they do. And sometimes it's people who are first starting a business and crave learning more on how to do better and be better. We've been on this really cool journey together ever since we started working together. And it is always about doing what we love. And it hasn't necessarily been easy, but something that I'm able to recognize as we reflect on working together all these years is that the power of relationships and having an approach that is more relational versus transactional, because that definitely helps deepen relationships with your customers or clients or listeners. It's all through the power of story. You are a documentarian. You have been from the moment I met you. There is power in people, but also that like, know, trust factor. And all of that comes from your personal branding, how you show up, what you say, what you do, how you behave, your actions, your words. All of it matters because customers do crave real connection and meaningful interactions with brands. And when I say brands, I mean any business. But when I talk about us as entrepreneurs, we have been very intentional with what we share.
Absolutely. Some people may look at us and how we handle ourselves and may feel that we are too much out there, right? That we overshare, let's say, right?
Is there
you
such
post
a thing?
every day.
Is there such a thing?
But yet it's the kind of thing that we do what we do so that it falls on the people that want to receive what we do. Whether it's our brand or what we produce through our brand, for anyone who wants it.
We are inviting people to be part of our community. We are inviting people to tune in to something that I believe is relevant, is relatable, does matter. And I have to tell you, Between Over and Next does exhibit authenticity because we are two humans that deeply care. And our stories with professional insights makes it informative for you to apply to your life.
We have crafted all of our endeavors as entrepreneurs around things that we love to do.
And we want people to feel like they know us through the stories we share.
Well, not only through the stories we share, but how we conduct ourselves while we do what we do. Let's call it the hidden benefits sometimes are what really matters, right? Take, for example, when we started Wedding Podcast Network. One of the reasons that we started Wedding Podcast Network that may not have been as obvious, right? So we're in the wedding business. So that kind of made sense. But for me, it was kind of a way for me to play with the technology and hopefully make money doing it. So I immersed myself in the technology of podcasting, taking what I've known through the years and creating video and applying it to audio, because it was just audio only. But it was a chance for me to invest in some new equipment, to up my game in terms of what I was able to do in audio. Education became very quickly part of the mix. And here it was. We came into a space where there was nothing there. We created this industry. We were part of the evolution of podcasting. Yet the monetization, the money, the business part of it didn't come where we expected it to come from, which was sponsorship, because people didn't know what it was. But the monetization came from us demonstrating what we were able to do and how we were able to do it. And then other people wanted us to do it for them. So here it was, we were doing what we loved to do, and we were making money by doing it for other people.
So we are evidence of entrepreneurs who have combined business with pleasure, and that has had impact on success and fulfillment. And that is the purpose of this programming and everything we do.
We joke about it, but it's true. We don't have to go to Costco on Saturday. It may sound stupid and silly, but we are in control of every day of the week, unless there's something scheduled that's going on that we have on the calendar. But we can basically shape our own days and our own weeks.
But that's an entrepreneurial
But that's something
lifestyle.
that's always attracted us to what we do. We could have very easily pitched ourselves to a company and do a 9-to-5 and all of the benefits that may come from that. But
we are pretty awesome producers, Robert.
Well,
you are
sure.
absolutely right. And I have recognized that through our skills and our talents of what we do to package these episodes.
Because we take it seriously, but we take whatever we do seriously. Nothing that has our thumbprint on it is ever anything but the best we can do. That's why I was never a fan of the way my colleagues in the wedding video industry would make their packages. I had one level of service because I wanted my work and what I did always to be at a certain level. A potential client that was looking at what I do didn't know whether the bride booked the cheapest, most bare bones package that I would offer. If that was someone who saw that, that wasn't a true representation of what I did. I did behind the scenes getting ready, the rehearsal dinner, the day of, the day after. That's what I wanted to represent to people. So would always go out, whatever we did, with our best. There was never anything less than the best because that's what we wanted to represent. And I think that carried through every brand that we built because that was the reputation that we had. And that helped us because they knew when we were putting our attention to something because of the reputation that we built, because we love what we do, and we did it well, people immediately understood that, okay, they're on to something here. Let's pay attention. Because we're moving on to what was next. We're dabbling quite a bit in AI right now and discovering amazing ways that we can use it. But you know what? It becomes part of our toolbox. And before you know it, people are starting to engage us because of what we know in AI and how we can help them. Because we love doing that. We love creating. It all comes from that. And you can't hide that. When you're doing something you love, the product is better, your attitude is better, customer service is better. It just kind of plays off of each other.
Well, I think a lot of what we talk about regarding fulfillment is also about personal satisfaction. And I do believe if you do what you love, you can build something extraordinary as a result. So last night, we watched a wonderful 1-hour show featuring a musician that Robert loves. And who is that musician, Robert?
Bruce Springsteen.
The one and only The Boss. And this episode was hosted by George Stephanopoulos. It was on ABC, and it was excellent from beginning to end. And as usual, I got out my phone, and I was taking notes throughout because it resonated so strongly with me, so much of what he said.
And can I say that I was interviewing George Stephanopoulos' wife 2 weeks ago.
Schmoopy.
Schmoopy.
tell everyone why.
Allie Wentworth. For another project that I'm working on for a client. She was participating in it. So I got to record with her.
But thank you to that client who's come back to you for his beautiful bride's 40th birthday, 50th birthday, and now 60th birthday. Isn't that a testament to you, Robert?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so proud of you. That is about connection in the most beautiful way, that he wants you, okay, which has nothing to do with your age, right? It all has to do with your deliverable.
Sure. And in that part of my business, video production for event related is, for the most part, and this is true, I think, industry wide, is kind of a one-off, right? You have a client once. But for me, I've been lucky enough through the years to have been passed around in families and to have done multiple events for families like this one, where this is the third project that I'm working on for this particular client's birthday celebration. But I've had others, right? Remember my wedding client who hired me to do their daughter's 3 or 4 birthday parties. 3, I think.
They were
quite elaborate.
Quite.
Yeah, from the Plaza Hotel to the Hard Rock Cafe. And I was brought back each time to create for them. So I've had a handful of, Rita, Carl, and Leon. Perfect example. Family who brought me back to do 3 or 4 events for them.
And all the event planners that you work with. You have been referred multiple, hundreds and hundreds of times.
That was my secret that I taught right away for
the video industry.
For video people.
Connection. It's about connection.
If you establish a great relationship with an event planner, they can bring you multiple jobs through years. And it was like a no-brainer for me. Remember, when I traveled to speak, I would make appointments with different event planners in different cities. And I would get a suite in a hotel so that I have like a living room area, and I would set up appointments. And all the videographers locally would get very annoyed at me because I was meeting with all of these wedding planners in their area. But here it is. You guys should have been doing it all along. And I was doing it a lot of times just to demonstrate that the importance of making those relationships happen, because that's really what,
But you were always a sharer. You always shared. And what's really cool is also the people we've met along the way, we've featured and highlighted their stories and their success stories. But I want to get back to The Boss, the show we watched, which of course was on DVR because we record everything and watch it in our pockets of time.
Right. Well, it was on Sunday night. We watched it on Monday night.
And it was called Backstage and Backstreets. And Bruce Springsteen said, and he's 75 years young, and he's not stopping anytime soon. And that, to me, is powerful messaging to the world. And he has been performing in front of audiences for 50 years. He said he feels he has a promise to fulfill, and at his age, it's a good feeling. He loves his collaboration. I love that word, with the E Street Band, even bringing in new talent 50 years later. And he wants to remind you who you are and who you could be. He wants you to see yourself reflected back and for the audience to see themselves while he is performing on that stage. And he said, everyone has a reason to begin again. And that so aligns with our Between Over and Next. And then he also said, now at 75, that his music is dealing with end-of-life and mortality. It's a significant part of the show because if you last long enough, you're ultimately going to lose people. He said, with all of his success, he's not done yet. That's an important message. We know we don't want to retire, Robert. George Stephanopoulos says to him, you got the best job in the world. And Bruce Springsteen said, it's a meaningful experience to get to have over and over again. If you had that once, you would remember it forever. Watch this and hear it from the boss's mouth himself. We have seen his Broadway show. We've read his book. We have been to so many concerts in small venues, in large venues. And I was thinking, wow, as a musician, as a storyteller, he inspires me, Robert.
Well, listen, you don't last like that for decade after decade after decade and still fill arenas to the rafters. What does that say? You have devoted fans. I get it. Taylor Swift sold out.
And I think she's going to be around 50 plus years.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's certain people that you see that have that kind of longevity because
she's at the beginning of her journey. Bruce Springsteen now has 3 generations at his concerts.
Yeah,
music is relevant.
You see parents bring their children and grandparents bring their grandchildren. It's a testament to not only the music, but to the story behind the music.
Staying true to your passion.
Yeah, you don't do that for so many dates. I think the last count was like 144 cities or something like that. That's grueling. This is a man, and would probably hold true for his entire band, that doesn't need to work another day in their life. He sold his music library for $500 million. All of his bandmates been with him for 50 plus years. Everyone has had their own other careers. Steven has his own music that he does and his radio shows and his acting career in The Sopranos and his other TV shows that he does. These guys don't have to work another day in their life, yet they do because of the love of it, what they get, the rush, the adrenaline, the accolades to be able to perform. And they all said it. And there's another documentary coming up later in October on Hulu. So by the time you're watching this,
it is called Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band Road Diary.
Right. So
and that's coming out October 25th, 2024.
So when you're listening to this, you'll be able to watch that on Hulu. And I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I'm sure we'll talk about it on an upcoming episode.
He said something else that's really important, okay? He said he wanted to be the father he hoped to be. That was a whole other segment when he talks about his love with Patty.
He has 3 grown children.
But he used to sleep till, let's say, 11 in the morning as a musician's life, but his wife brought it to his attention. You're going to miss out, and they're going to miss out if you don't get up and be with them before they go to school.
Well, listen, that's work-life balance, no matter if you're Bruce Springsteen or if you're Holli Ehrlich. I'm thankful that my career, when the kids were young, allowed me to do what we did. I've mentioned this before, but I had full access to their kindergarten, first grade classes, and I would videotape for them all of the regular stuff, not just the pageants and not just the plays and the choral concerts, but what they were doing every day in kindergarten, and to be able to document that. And I was only able to document that because of my career.
And that's a choice. I want to share a few success stories, because these are all businesses that we connect to. So one of them, and I didn't know the name of the founder of Airbnb, but I loved learning his story. So Brian Chesky and the co-founders of Airbnb, they rented out air mattresses in their apartment to pay rent, which turned into the concept of Airbnb. Did you know that?
No.
And Chesky's love for travel and human connection shaped Airbnb's focus on personal, immersive travel experiences, grew into a multi-billion-dollar company with over 150 million users, and it's built on the foundation of culture, creativity, and authentic travel experiences. Another one is Christina Tosi. Many of you may know her as the founder of Milk Bar. And I'm going to quote her. She says, "Milk Bar is a creative playground where I get to do what I love, which is bake and make people happy." She launched in 2008 to share her creative desserts, and she was inspired by childhood memories and, of course, her love of baking. Jim Koch, founder of Boston Beer Company, Sam Adams, quoting Jim, "It's about doing what I love, making great beer, and sharing it with people. So he left his job to start brewing Sam Adams in his kitchen, combining his love for craft beer with his desire to disrupt the beer industry. Boston Beer Company has become one of the largest craft breweries in the U.S., with Koch still involved in his passion for brewing great beer and sharing great beer. So what are the key takeaways in all these stories, from Bruce Springsteen to Brian Chesky, Christina Tosi, Jim Koch? One, authenticity sells. They stayed true to their passions. They blended business with personal joy. They created brand loyalty that extended beyond their products or services. Fulfillment drives success. Success isn't always just in the form of revenue. It is about finding fulfillment by doing what you love. And all of these things fosters brand advocacy. It helps boost referrals. When a customer feels personally connected to a brand, they are likely to share their experiences. They promote the business organically through social media or word of mouth. I'm inspired by all of those entrepreneurs. I really feel that we may not be known like those success stories
Yet.
but I feel successful, Robert.
We are successful, just in a different way than what we see out there in the general public. And that's all measured by the goals that you set for yourself to achieve. It's as simple as that. So we're successful because we, in most cases, achieve what we set out to achieve.
We just have to ask you, who's listening or watching us today, if there is something that you feel is worthy of sharing with friends, family, colleagues, your children, your parents. Talking about lots of different things that most people experience in their lives. So please share it with them.
Yeah, we've got a lot of info there that we can share with others and help them on their journey. So do take advantage of that. This was an interesting reflection on work because for us, we have thankfully, since we're together, not really done anything that we haven't loved doing, no matter how long that lasted.
And often we have taken a blank canvas of an idea. And as creatives, we have made it into something meaningful, yet touches others. We really are there to help support others, not only learn, but also to know that they should tap into what they love. And it could be a business that you could love your whole life long and never stop. Because I really don't want to stop doing what we do in the world of video and events and podcasting. And it really does all start with you and me, and then all the people that we have met through the years.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Between Over and Next. We do really appreciate that. Holly, thank you once again for being by my side. I always love looking over and seeing you there.
Boy, am I one lucky girl, and I am grateful to be doing the do with you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Between Over and Next. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it meaningful and insightful.
If you value it to be worthwhile, please share it with your friends and family.
We would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to write a review for us. Your feedback will help us continue to create content that resonates with you.
And don't forget, in the show notes, you can find all the relevant links mentioned in this episode, from accessing free downloads to visiting our website and more.
If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. Simply send us an email. Our email address is hello@hollyandrobert.com. We're always excited to connect with our listeners.
So until next time, thank you again for joining us on Between Over and Next.
Thank you for listening to Between Over and Next, the podcast that navigates the twists and turns of life with courage, laughter, and a whole lot of inspiration. Tune in every Tuesday to hang out with Holly and Robert on your favorite podcast platform. Visit hollyandrobert.com and follow them on social media to ignite your passion and fuel your dreams.